Okay, we live. Yes, live on both. And the red warning. Wonderful. Well, what a way to start out. Get a red warning that says, I may be freezing up. Isn't that wonderful? I've been gone for so long, everybody probably will have given up on me. Might be a short show. Oh. Yeah, I always get myself involved in something and all right, Kathy's here, Linda's here. I guess it's music time. Not that music. Oh, God, the tablet. Got a mind of its frickin' own. Broadcasting live from the basement storeroom of station WDWL TV. It's me, the grumpy old man. And now the tablet decided it wants to play. Oh, God, it wants to play its own frickin' music. All right, hold on. I have to plug the charger back in because I screwed up. I didn't charge the tablet. Now the charger don't want to plug in. Oh, God, come on. Are we charging? Yes. Okay, we're charging. Okay, I'm here. Been gone for so long. I was suffering withdrawal. I'll tell you, I seriously did not think that there was going to be such a goddamn bidding war over this Corvette. But with it being a convertible, one guy told me they didn't build that many. They built a shitload of the hardtops and a shitload of the T-tops. But there didn't seem to be a great demand for the convertible. Not to mention, it's a complete numbers matching car. So tomorrow I have two more, but they're coming over during the day, and then that's it. Bidding's done. I've had enough. But Jim's son is shocked. Consider he almost gave that son of a bitch away. I told him, I says, we can make money off this car. And so far, it's unbelievable what people will spend for something that right now isn't running. Something that hasn't run in about 6 years. It's been sitting that long. So after tomorrow, that's it. I'm done. I've got just about everything of his sold. The Dodge Dakota pickup, what a shitbox that was. And then the poor Chevy Nova was broken in half. It sat for so long that the unibody gave way under the firewall. So that's going for scrap. And so far, I've only got one person interested in the Porsche. You would think with it being an 87 that somebody would, more than one person would be interested in it, but the problem is it's a 944. It's a four-cylinder. If it was a 928, it would draw a lot more interest. But with it being a four-cylinder, he was going to take $250 because the guy convinced him it was a piece of junk. Oh, the guy told her. He said, well, you know, all four tires are flat. The brakes are probably all seized up. The motor's probably locked up from sitting. And, you know, basically what it is body parts. You know, even if the motor is slightly locked up, what you do is you pull all the spark plugs and you dump Marvel Mystery Oil down each of the cylinders and you let it set for anywhere from a couple of days to a week. Then you take a pry bar with a socket and you go down on the crank and you give it a little, and if it breaks free, problem solved. Because then what you do is you leave all the spark plugs out and you have to cover everything up because it gets to be a mess. And you start cranking the engine, and it blows all that oil out the spark plug holes, for one. But any little rust ring that is in the cylinders, it wipes it right out, and you've got a perfect motor again. So, and you know, it's got four-wheel disc. If they're locked up from rust, you rock it back and forth a little bit, or take and spray some blaster on all four of the wheel discs, let it set overnight, rock it back and forth, bingo. Just be, you know, a little bit of rust on rotors. God, rotors rust overnight from your car sitting. Drive it around the block once or twice, rust gone. Put some new pads on, bingo. I mean, really, if somebody just wanted to drive that car as is, get it running, that's it. Don't do anything with it. I'll give it a little pressure wash. Now, you know, we're not getting a ridiculous amount of money, but so far, depending on what these two guys bid tomorrow, he's getting a decent price for a 1990 Corvette that's been sitting for 6 years and hasn't run. But no more. No more. No, I'm done. Now what he is going to call 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and they're going to empty the other two houses. He's got to go through the one that Jim was living in because Jim had a bad habit of hiding money all over the place. Yeah, from what I hear, there's a couple of coffee cans in the kitchen cupboard that had like $5,000 in them. Jim was a little eccentric. So his son basically has to go through every inch of that house before they throw anything away. But he won't be doing that for a while. The only thing that's left to sell is the 2016 RAV4. And I think we got it sold. One of the neighbors down the street has been really after him on that car, so well, Ron, get yourself one of those big rainbow flags and hang it out front, and it'll match the pink exterior of the house. Oh, I'll tell you what, Linda. After the Depression, oh, my grandparents, they did not trust banks at all because my grandfather lost everything. He had two, he had an insurance company here in Cleveland, and he had a satellite office out in St. Louis. I don't know, I never got the story as to why he had that office in St. Louis. He had an extremely expensive house that was basically down the road from Carnegie's mansion. He had a Pierce Arrow, which basically was like the American Rolls Royce. And when the stock market crashed, he didn't have a penny. So they did not trust banks at all. I would say, I don't think they put money in the bank until like maybe the mid 60s. And then they started with $50. But for the longest time, there were shoe boxes of money under the bed. So yeah, anybody that basically came through the Depression or when was it during the 70s when the stock market kind of took a dive. Oh, I've heard stories like that, Kathy. I've heard stories of money sewn into mattresses, sewn into clothing. Uh, Matter of fact, my one aunt, she had sold like $4,000 in a pillow, and she slept on that pillow every night. Oh God, my grandfather used to smoke Prince Albert. Yeah. Oh, those cans! I'll tell you what, they were the handiest thing. I wish I would have saved some because he had in his garage bolts, nuts, screws, washers, you name it. There were Prince Albert cans everywhere. And yeah, they used them for money too. After the Depression, it took people a long time before they trusted banks. And I'm trying to think what is the maximum the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance, covers? Is it $200,000? I don't know if they changed it. One time it was $200,000. So there were a lot of people that had money that would spread it around to every bank imaginable because it was only covered up to 250 or I think 200 or 250,000. So, if there was somebody that had $1 million, they had it broke up among four banks. Because if the bank would go under, the FDIC only covered so much. I don't know if they've raised that over the years. You used to hear it a lot. A bank would have a commercial. We're FDIC insured up to $250,000 or 300,000 or whatever. Although as shaky as things are, I wouldn't trust the FDIC today either. Yeah, you're right, Kathy. It had an aroma. You could be walking down the street and you immediately knew somebody was smoking Prince Albert. Of course, back in the day, there were a lot of pipe smokers. My grandfather smoked a pipe for ages. You rarely see anybody smoking a pipe today. I remember the smoke shop that my grandfather used to go in. the guy must have had 5,000 pipes from all over the world. And they weren't cheap. Because they were all sectioned off. You know, these pipes are from Sweden, these are from Africa, these are. I always wanted one of them. Oh, what the hell? I just went brain dead. I can't think of his name. Back in the day, the famous English detective, what was his name? He smoked one of them crook pipes. Sherlock Holmes. I always wanted a Sherlock Holmes pipe. Yeah, the neat crook pipe that was carved. I don't think I've seen anyone smoking a pipe easily 30 years. Easily. The pipe smoking went out of favor. Men always used to wear hats. Look back in the 50s. Whether it be a movie or a news story, or men always had hats. And then the hats went out of. There was a thing the other day. It was a documentary on Ford and General Motors and Chrysler. And the documentary was filmed back in the mid 50s. And every guy had a hat. Then all of a sudden, the hell with the hats. Matter of fact, Kathy would remember this. Remember when Dick Goddard would be doing a weather forecast and he always had his pipe in his hand? Or if they would show Dick Goddard sitting at his desk, he'd be smoking his pipe. You know, I tried, Ron, but I could never pack it right. There's an art to packing a pipe and keeping it going. I could never. I gave up. Yeah, remember they would do in the news, and they would say, coming up next, Dick Goddard, and he'd be reading a weather report, you know, studying it, and he'd be smoking his pipe on air. And then that was when he stopped, when the supposed lip cancer scare. Oh, you can get lip cancer from smoking a pipe. And then he quit. But from the first time when he was on air in Cleveland, he was always smoking his pipe. Now, oh, Oh, God, in the morning. Oh, Jesus Christ. They have got, pardon me, ladies, but they got this goofy female weather forecaster. Oh, God. She is 3 sandwiches short of a picnic. All right, Kathy, remember Dick Goddard was the first weather forecaster to have the American Meteorological Seal of Approval. He was the only weather forecaster in Ohio. And then all of a sudden, everybody had to go to meteorological school to get there. Because I remember they would say, and next up, Dick Goddard with the weather. And then they say, the only weather forecaster in northeastern Ohio with the American Meteorological Seal of Approval. You don't see that anymore. And this airhead that they got doing the weather in the morning, she is an insult to sit at that desk that says Dick Goddard Weather Center. Oh, she is brain dead. Matter of fact, when it came to weather forecasts, and it was a known fact for years, if people were watching 3 or 5, when it came time for the weather forecast, they would switch to Channel 8 because Dick Goddard was such a trusted weatherman. And he was dedicated, man. He had a big weather station in his house. And he would literally follow the weather during the day so that when he got to the studio, his forecast was right on the money. Oh God, he was the most respected weatherman in northeastern Ohio for years. Because I can remember my neighbor loved Channel 5. But when it came time for the weather, he'd switch to 8. Dick Goddard was a legend. And I noticed something today. I never paid attention. Remember, the address used to be 5800 South Marginal Drive? They petitioned the city to change the name to Dick Goddard Way. So the address for Channel 8 is now 5800 Dick Goddard Way. And they show the signs every now and then as a tribute to one of the most trusted weathermen in history of Ohio broadcasting. So Channel 8, they have the Dick Goddard Weather Center studio, and now the address of the station is 5800 Dick Goddard Way. Too bad he's not alive to see it. He would be so humbled. Because I'll tell you what, he never let when they would say, God, you're the most trusted weatherman in northeastern Ohio, it never went to his head. He lived for weather. Although, towards the end, because he was getting dementia, and you could tell because he would be a little forgetful giving the forecast. And I don't know how the station ever talked him into retiring. I think his daughter had a lot to do with it. Like, Dad, you're not all with it. Oh, definitely, he was. And what was the oh God, what was the fucking caterpillar? Because he always said, you watch the the center band on whatever that caterpillar was, and if the center band was, because it was orange and the middle was brown, and if that center band was large, it was going to be an extremely cold winter. I can't remember the name of that caterpillar. Woolly bear, yeah. And they had the Dick Goddard Woolly Bear Parade and Festival. Oh my God. All the kids dressed up as woolly bears. And Dick Goddard would show how you would tell how the weather's going to be by the woolly bear. Really? The woolly bear cake. Yeah, I mean, that was a kind of a piece of history that nobody knew. And how Dick Goddard came up with it, because he used to bring them goddamn things in the studio. And they'd be crawling around on his desk, and he'd go, okay, this is how you tell how the winter's going to be. Look at that center band. And then they had I think every city had a goddamn woolly bear parade at one time or another. But I think Vermilion was the big one, wasn't it? Was it Vermilion? I remember one city went all out. Oh, he loved the Woolly Bear Festival. Oh, he looked forward to it every year. They'd have a big ass parade like some dignitary was in town. And it was always cute, the kids in their woolly bear costumes. Yeah, old Dick Goddard, I'll tell you what, he put Cleveland on the map. But it was sad towards the end, because Channel 8 didn't want to force him out. I think it was his daughter that finally convinced him to retire. But you could tell his mind was starting to go. Because he'd be doing the weather and he'd go, well, the temperature in Cleveland is 76. And the temperature in Cleveland is 76. and the temperature in Cleveland is 76. And they'd be like, what's the temperature in Toledo? Oh, I don't know. You know. But the TV station, they did not want to force him out. I think it was his daughter that was like, Dad, it's time to retire. Because Channel 8 never wanted the moniker of the TV station that forced Dick Goddard off the air. No, they let him go because they would have other weather people with him. And if he would start going off track, the other one would kind of bring him back. But they let him go, and I think it was his daughter that finally convinced him, Dad, time to hang up your barometer. Not to mention, I can't remember where he lived. Where the hell did he? Oh, Medina. I think he lived in Medina. He drove in from Medina every goddamn day. Oh yeah, Kathy, because one of my longtime friends was one of the cameramen for Channel 8. He was the mobile camera guy. And he had told me, because I had mentioned to him, I said, gee, I said, Dick Goddard seems like he's a little off. And I said, is the station going to ask him to retire? And they were like, oh no. Oh no, he can stick around for as long as he wants. And during his weather forecast, they always had another weatherman with him. So in case he would kind of drift, they would kind of bring him back. But yeah, they had so much respect for him. Had it not been for his daughter, he'd have probably been there until he died. But she finally convinced him to retire. And then, when we would get a big storm, they would let Dick call in and give a storm forecast because he had a weather station at his house. So he never 100% retired, but in bad weather, they would call him and say, all right, Dick, what's the forecast look like? And then they would put him on the air. But yeah, Channel 8. That's why they have the weather studio, and they petitioned to change the name of South Marginal to Dick Goddard Way. I don't know if they still have the Woolly Bear Festival. I haven't heard about it in years. Not saying they don't, because, yeah, Vermilion, the whole city went bonkers for the Woolly Bear Festival. On the website, they have a Q&A section. I'm going to have to go in and ask, do they still have the Dick Goddard Woolly Bear Festival? God, I think he was. I want to say he was in his late 20s when he started at Channel 8. I'm going to have to look into it because he took meteorology in college because he had several degrees. That was one reason he got his seal of approval. But I know for the longest time he was the only weatherman, like in northeastern Ohio. And then the other stations were scrambling, like, hey, you got to get, the evening weather guy, you got to get your approval. Dick Goddard's got your asses whipped. Because I remember during news, the evening news, they had said, it's amazing how many people that are watching Channel 3 and Channel 5 are waiting for the weather because they're going to switch over to Channel 8. But that airhead they got in the morning, oh, God. I can't stand her. Give the weather. Don't try to tell jokes and giggle and give the weather. Because I usually turn the TV on like at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then if you're watching Channel 19, CBS, WOIO, they give the weather like every 3 minutes. Oh, they drive me crazy. I'm trying to think of what the guy's name is. Tarchak or Tarnchak or something. The first one was 73. Wow. And they still hold it every year. How cool. What a memory for Dick Goddard. I hadn't realized it was 73. Holy shit. Unreal. I can tell Kathy's been gargling. Because I know that's the main one. And then Cleveland will have a little one, and Parma and Brook Park. I mean, every city, but that's the big one. I think it's cute, all the kids in their little woolly bear costumes. Most of them don't know what a woolly bear is. It would be interesting to see why Vermilion, like, was Vermilion the biggest accumulation of woolly bears, or because I remember he'd have them in a little box, He'd dump them out on his desk during the weather report, and he'd show you how to read the bands. But it would be interesting to see how Vermilion got picked for the Woolly Bear Festival. I should ask my sister. She lives in Vermilion. Although she's working so much overtime at Ford, Jesus Christ, I haven't heard from her in weeks. Talk about a girl that sucks up every ounce of overtime she can get. I give her credit though. She started out, what was her first job? I think her first position was polishing camshafts. And now she's worked herself up to the position where she puts the engines on the stands and does the initial run-up. Because each engine has to come up to operating temperature before she certifies it and it gets shipped out. Coming from a female that didn't know a pair of pliers from a hammer, she knows how to build a complete engine at Ford. And now, as they come down the assembly line, she puts them on the test stand and fires them up. Proud of my little sister, my baby sister. She was born my senior year of high school. And for years, she was a receptionist for a chiropractor. And then a friend of hers said, "How would you like to work for Ford? I can get you in." She went down, she applied, she got interviewed and got hired. And told the doctor, "See ya." Of course, she's making a godzillion dollars. Jesus. When she told me what her hourly rate was, and I thought back when I got my first job out of high school, working for the county, I was making 90 cents an hour. Hard to believe. Although who the hell ever thought that McDonald's starting wage would be $15 an hour to flip burgers? Although I'll tell you what, everybody, start stocking up on coffee. Start stocking up on coffee. Because coffee is going to go sky fucking high with the tariff that good old Trump just put on Brazil. You're going to see coffee go out of sight. Not to mention fruits and vegetables and everything else. Although I'll tell you what, the other day I could not believe the price of fucking tomatoes. Jesus Christ. Goddamn tomatoes were like $1.25 each. Matter of fact, me and a woman were fighting over. There was a 6-pack of tomatoes for $1.10, and I grabbed them and she grabbed them at the same time, and it was like, I don't know why they had nothing wrong with them. I had one last night. It was delicious. Oh, really? I'll be damned. And it took off from there. Well, that put Vermilion on the map, I'll tell you that. I never knew that. So they called, would you like to host a Woolly Bear Festival? And Dick Goddard never said no to anything that involved kids or animals. It was unbelievable how many dogs you would see dressed up as woolly bears. I'll tell you what, he definitely put Chanlade on the map. You know, another thing that amazes me is Chanlade still has their helicopter. Those things ain't cheap to run. Now, I don't know if 3 or 5 still have there, because 5 used to have Chopper 5. I don't know if they still have Chopper 5. But every morning the helicopter's up and they're giving the traffic report. God, this morning, 7 o'clock, they're flying over 480 and 271. Kathy, it looked like Sunday traffic. Remember how nasty fucking traffic used to be at 7 in the morning? There was hardly traffic. I was like, can't be 480 and 271. It was. I could not believe. No bumper to bumper, no slowdown. Yeah, I think it was the eye in the sky. It's too bad you can't get Channel 8 in the morning. Kathy, you'd be fucking shocked. I couldn't believe it. There was like, it looked like a Saturday or a Sunday. 7 o'clock in the morning. 480, 271. No backups, nothing. I didn't even notice. Thank God I have a remote. There we go. I turned the on-air sign on, and then I turned the yellow light on, and then the blue one, and I forgot that one. But Kathy, you remember when you were here, traffic would be bumper to bumper, backups because of accidents. It was like you say, like a weekend. I could not believe 7 o'clock in the morning, and there was like nothing. And then when they flew over I 71, I was like, hardly any traffic. I don't know, are that many people working from home nowadays that. I mean, anybody that's driving the freeway, I'm sure, was extremely happy that there was no traffic. But nothing. Oh, I remember if it was raining or snowing, it was demolition derby out there. If you would have seen it, it was like weekend traffic. I couldn't believe. And originally, I thought maybe it was a fluke. And then every morning, they fly over the same areas, and it's like that every morning. Unreal. Kathy, I remember when my son was working out in Twinsburg, there was a hell of a snowstorm. And of course, 480, 271 was people, they drove like idiots. My son left. I'm gonna have to look up the road that he was on. He left work at 4:30 and never got home until 11 p.m. because no matter where he tried to get off, traffic was accident heaven everywhere. There was a freak ice storm. And 480, 271, 97, they were all a disaster. As a matter of fact, gargle it, Kathy, to find out where the road was. The company that he worked for was Sifron. Sifron. I don't know if it's Sifron Industries or Sifron Distributing, but it was Sifron. Sifron. And I'll tell you, there are traffic cameras fucking everywhere. Because as they're giving the traffic, they'll be like, okay, here's I-90 and I-490, and then they'll switch. And they go, okay, here's I-90 out in Westlake, and all right, here's I-71 at 25th Street, and Cleveland got fucking cameras everywhere. Almost getting to the point they're like England. Christ, in England, you can't drive down a side street without a goddamn camera picking you up somewhere. That's it. Darrow Road. That's it. So, you know where he was driving from. We live at 130th and I-71. And he was driving out to Darrow Road. Yeah. Oh yeah, Linda, they have a camera at Edgewater Beach. Because every now and then they'll cut in and go, well, here's a shot from the beach, Then, of course, yeah, Kathy, with all that driving, he used to bitch. Jesus Christ, I just changed my oil 3 weeks ago. Talk about putting miles on a goddamn car. Jesus. Not to mention going through tires like crazy. Now, I had been out by the Chrysler stamping plant, but I'd never been on the outskirts of Twinsburg. All I know is he used to bitch about Darrow Road all the time. I'm surprised I couldn't remember it. Yeah, he used to bitch about what it cost him for gasoline a week. And then getting his oil changes done every 5,000 miles. Because it didn't take long to crank 5,000 miles up driving that distance back and forth. Especially if he had to work weekends. Although there were a lot of times he would get gas out in that area because it was cheaper than it was over here. But now you know where he was driving to every day. But that one night, when that freak ice storm hit, it hit like 4 o'clock. And he left at 4:30 and didn't walk in the door here until 11 o'clock. Because I asked him, I said, did you stop off after work? He said, shit, I'm just getting home from work. Because he got over the 480 bridge, and traffic on 480 died. There was a big goddamn accident up by Tiedemann or Ridge or what, like 3 semis, and the police wouldn't let them back up, to get off the freeway. And they're just sitting there. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember Darrow Road. Although he hasn't been out there in ages, but yeah, well, it didn't help that night that the freak ice storm hit. It caught everybody off guard. No salt trucks, nothing. And of course, idiots, they are still driving at 70, 75 miles an hour. Then they wonder why they get in an accident. In a way, I'm glad he's not doing that trip every day. Well, Linda, I could never convince him to leave work, leave home like an hour earlier. Beat some of that rush hour traffic. Oh, he's one of these where the first couple of times he'll drive it, it'll be like, okay, it only takes me 45 minutes. Then he leaves the house 45 minutes before it's time to get to work. Then wonders why he's late. Christ, I always used to get to work early. I could get a cup of coffee, sit down, relax, kind of go through what my day is going to be like. Could never convince him of that. Nope. Oh, I got to take them off. Jeez. My ears are soaking wet. Man, them suckers are hot. Where are my... Where are my other... There we go. Let me plug these in. Come on. Come on. Get over the top of the ear. There. Better. That headset like earmuffs. A lot better. That headset is so hot. I could feel water running down my ears. Like, ay, 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 ay. I don't know why I don't think about using these. They actually sound better than the headset. Although, hang on. Come on. For some reason, I don't know why I'm not getting, there we go. Wasn't getting stereo sound. Oh, that sucks when you can't even get out of your own driveway. I started ordering some parts for the Passat. So once I get it over here, I don't know why he won't buy a battery for that RAV4. I told him, just go up to where I get mine from, $50. You can add $50 onto the price when you sell it. He comes over with a battery charger the other night. I said, it ain't gonna charge. The battery has to have some voltage in it before it'll charge. This goddamn battery is so dead, it's like a big black brick. That's all it is. A paperweight. He plugged the charger in, he went, gee, it's not registering. I said, no. Because there's no voltage in the battery. In order to charge a battery, there has to be at least 1 volt. So he's supposed to be coming over. I don't know when now. Because we got to get the RAV4 out of the driveway so I can get the Passat out of the driveway. And get it over here. And I got to catch my neighbor to find out when he's going to take my RAV4 into the shop. I don't know what's going on. He hasn't, God, he come in like 11 o'clock last night. He must be short-handed at the shop. I don't know how many employees he has. How many drivers, I should say. Because I know the mechanics don't drive the tow trucks. Because I asked his wife yesterday, I said, what time's he going to be home? She said, I don't know. When he gets here. Then I heard the truck come in about 11 o'clock. I wonder how much the ticket was. I wonder what they wrote him for. Blocking traffic, maybe? Although every state has different tickets for different things. Oh, you get to see the Great Smoky Mountains? I always wanted to go see them. Because you always hear so much about the Great Smoky Mountains. I've seen pictures. I'd like to see them in person. Although there's a lot of areas I wish I would have back in the day. One place I always wanted to see was the Grand Canyon. Never made it out there either. Although I did make it up to New Jersey and drove my car out on the beach right up to the ocean. Because my buddy's sister lived in Seaside Heights, New Jersey. And then the goddamn car almost got stuck. I said, uh-oh. I had a picture of it. My front wheels were right up. The ocean was splashing up against my tires. Then the beach patrol come by and said, "Hey, you better get that thing out of here." Oh, yeah, I've seen pictures, Kathy. I've seen on TV, but nothing better than being there in person. Yeah, out of everything in the United States, I wanted to see the Grand Canyon. And I never went. There were so many times I could have. Always found some excuse, you know. Now I regret it. I regret not traveling. What's with my... What did I do? Hit the... Come on. How come I don't have stereo? Now I got stereo. Okay. I would like to see the Grand Canyon and Las Vegas. Whoa, $150. Holy shit. Well, somebody only has to do that one time and then they learn their lesson. Ouch. Is that considered a moving violation? Do they get points for that ticket too? Because some tickets have points and some don't. Because I think points, I think in Ohio they stay on your license 3 years. Yeah, I thought about Alaska until my buddy's son sent that picture home. Welcome to Fairbanks, minus 60. I was like, no thanks. He loves it. He's an Alaska State Trooper. He's going on like 25 years now and loves it. Because the troopers, they cover, well, the troopers basically are the police department in Alaska. So he says he's all over, but he's stationed out of Fairbanks. I'll tell you what, he is sent. I used to have, I don't know what happened to him. Over the years, some beautiful pictures of Alaska. Gorgeous. And the odd thing is, he was always a freeze baby. He would bitch about Cleveland weather. And then he gets a job as an Alaska State Trooper. He said up there, they never shut the cruisers off. When they go, like if he goes in to do paperwork or book somebody on an arrest, you never shut the car off. And they take their cars home. And they plug them in because they got block heaters, transmission oil heaters, battery heaters, all right, transmission pan heaters, oil pan heaters, block heaters, and battery tray warmers. When he gets home at night, plugs the car in. Well, I just wanted to see, like, Vegas proper. Although I think I heard they tore the volcano down. They're building a new hotel. I think they tore the volcano down. Because they said, I'm pretty sure I read an article that they're tearing down one hotel to build a new one, and the volcano had to go. But I wouldn't want to sit in a casino. And mainly, I'd like to be out at night when the whole town is lit up. But I would have no need to go in a casino because I don't gamble. Although I would have loved to gone out there when the buffets were free. Not no more. And the drinks used to be free too. That's how they would keep you in a casino. Here, have another drink. Oh, okay. No more free drinks, no more free food. I know because my cousin goes out there on vacation every year, her and her husband. Yeah, well, grass is too hard to grow. Not to mention the waste of water that you would have to water it. That's like my friend that lives out in Arizona. Everything is crushed red rock. No grass, whole front yard, crushed red rock. Matter of fact, she lives in a cul-de-sac and everything. The whole thing, just crushed red rock and cactus. Another place I would have liked to see was Alcatraz. I would have liked to go on for the tour. Although I heard the other day that Trump is thinking of opening Alcatraz again. He said it would be cheaper to modernize than to build a new prison. I thought it was a joke. He's fucking serious. He wants to open Alcatraz again. Yeah, well, I can almost imagine what she paid for groceries. Because there ain't nothing cheap in Alaska. Probably cost her $200 for groceries and then the $55 taxi ride. I don't know how people can afford to live up there. Food prices are ridiculous. With all the pipelines, I wonder how expensive gasoline is. I wonder if they have cheap gas. What? Jesus Christ. I hope at that price a cab driver ain't looking for a fucking tip. Expensive shopping day. Are we talking about his future living quarters? I thought I heard a truck. Nah, wrong truck. It's his wife's pickup truck. She just come home from grocery shopping. Gee, you would think gas would be cheap up there. With all the goddamn frickin' pipelines everywhere. Christ, that's more expensive than it is here. Matter of fact, let me see what my gas station is charging for gas. All right. 269. $2.69 a gallon. Well, maybe they don't have refineries up there. That could be part of it. You know, they pump the oil, but they might have not have refineries up there to make gasoline. Well, where was that? Because I don't think there's too much weeding done up in Arizona. At least not the areas I've seen. Gee, last night, dummy me. I'm making my salad and I forgot to hard boil some more eggs. So tonight, this afternoon, I hard boiled some. Because I love having my avocado on my salad and my eggs and my pepperoni. And I got my Italian lettuce blend. Yeah, I'm going on 3 weeks of salad for dinner every night. I'm loving it. Well, that could be. We haven't heard from him in a while. Well, I can remember some shots on the news when gasoline was like 2.30 a gallon here in Cleveland. It was like five something out in California. I was like, Jesus. And California's nothing but goddamn freeway. That's all right. He needs his rest. Oh, is that pipeline they were going to run from Canada that the goddamn tree huggers were fighting down here they didn't want? Yeah, if they'd have built that goddamn pipeline, we'd have had cheap gas. That was like when they originally were going to build the, Alaska pipeline. All the tree huggers were, and they figured a way to develop it and build it where it didn't really affect the wildlife. In some of the areas they dug tunnels so that the animals could get under the freeways and roads, and they built it up high enough where they could get under it with no problem. So, when they built the Alaska pipeline, they took ecology in their thoughts. It really didn't disrupt things that much. God, I remember a friend of mine, when they were building the pipeline, he went up to Alaska and he got a job. Now, everything was provided for them. I mean, everything right down to fucking cigarettes and candy, and everything was free. So he didn't have to spend any money. So he was sending his paychecks home for his mother to deposit. And at the end of the year, now we're talking back when they were building that pipeline, he had over $100,000 in the bank. And he stayed up there until it was completed. So I can almost imagine how much he came home to. But everything was provided. Your living quarters, your food, everything. Clothing. Don't forget the cat, Linda. They're probably all sleeping. I love that cat. That gray and white tuxedo. I would love to have a gray and white one sometime. But there'd be no way I could bring one in. My big boy would run him right off. This morning I come out, he was in the middle of the kitchen floor, flat on his back, feet in the air. Because there was a nice cool breeze coming in through the window. So then I opened the window. Next thing I know, there he is laying in the window. The funny thing is, he won't stay in the bedroom though. I got the air conditioning on. Maybe you don't like air conditioning. He comes in at night to get his cat treats and then he's gone. Matter of fact, tomorrow I have to go get him some more delectables. He's almost out. God forbid I don't have delectables. He throw a fit. Have to make my grocery list in the morning. Today was laundry day. Got that out of the way. I still hate that fucking machine. Yeah. Takes a goddamn hour to do a load of clothes. Then my neighbor, matter of fact, it's supposed to get delivered, I think, Friday. She bought, it's a washer and dryer all in one. One machine. I didn't dare ask her what she paid for it. I think it's an LG, I'm not sure. She said, oh, it's a washer and dryer all in one machine. I didn't even know they made them like that. I guess once she gets it delivered, I'll have to go over and check it out. I could guarantee it ain't cheap. Christ, what I paid for this goddamn thing, I can almost imagine a washer-dryer combo. Although I can't figure that out. How can you have a washer and a dryer in the same machine? I guess I'll go see it when she gets it delivered. Yeah, I think she said it was a LG. I'll find out Friday. Because she had the plumber there today. Because she's putting the washing machine in the kitchen. So we had to run water in a drain. Well, Kathy, she better like it for the money she spent. Besides the machine, having plumbing run for it so she could put it in the kitchen. I'm still trying to figure out how the hell they can. Water and electricity don't mix. Interesting combination, but oh yeah, Linda, I got mine spoiled. Oh God. If he doesn't get his cat treats, oh, he turns into a nasty bastard. Because I tease him. I walk around the bed. And he'll be up on the follow me around. And then he'll reach out and he'll grab my pants. Like, hey, enough of this bullshit. Treat time. All day to do one goddamn load of laundry? Christ, I'm bitching about my machine taking a goddamn hour. Jesus. I hope she knows that in advance. Boy, she's going to be in for a real surprise. Because she's impatient as hell. Well, be interesting. I just can't I know technology is so advanced, but I just can't see how you can have a washer and a dryer in the same machine. You know, today I was timing it, and I still can't hear that fucking musical encore the thing plays when it's done. And it's right down here, it's underneath me. I couldn't hear it. I just, okay, 55 minutes. Yeah. Pain in the ass. I see somebody is right outside the door. I can see the light coming under the door, and then I can see him blocking it. It's dinner time. And with that, I think it's my dinner time for a good salad here. Oh, it'd probably help if I unplugged it. I was wondering why I couldn't get the tablet off. I had it plugged into the charger. Oh boy. It only got... It went from 33 to 36. Oh man, yeah. Was well worth keeping it plugged in. Well, it felt good to be back again. I was getting withdrawal symptoms. Thanks everybody for being here. Another interesting show. And with that, everybody have a wonderful rest of your evening. And we will meet again tomorrow night. And with that, take care.